Imagine a war where the enemy is not a rival nation, a terrorist group, or even a human. Instead, picture soldiers armed with machine guns and aircraft facing off against an army of over 20,000 flightless birds. This is not a scene from a surreal comedy, it is a bizarre chapter of Australian history known as the Great Emu War of 1932. A conflict that pitted the mighty Australian military against emus, the large, ostrich-like birds that had become a national pest. By the end, the emus would claim a surprising victory, leaving the humans humiliated and the world scratching their heads. In this video, we will explore the origins, the battles, and the aftermath of this extraordinary war, revealing the lessons learned and the enduring legacy of humanity's strangest conflict. To understand the Great Emu War, we need to step back to Australia in the early 1930s. The country was still recovering from the Great Depression, and many returning World War I soldiers were struggling to make a living. The government encouraged these veterans to take up farming in remote areas, offering them land grants and support. One such region was the Campion district of Western Australia, a harsh, arid expanse where wheat farming seemed viable. The veterans, known as soldier settlers, planted thousands of acres of wheat, hoping to build a new life. But they had not counted on an unexpected neighbor, the emu. These large birds, native to Australia, were both resilient and opportunistic. With their natural habitat shrinking, they were drawn to the lush wheat fields, which provided an abundant food source. Emus can consume large quantities of grain and, when they migrate, they do so in vast numbers. By 1932, an estimated 20,000 emus had descended upon the Campion district, devouring crops, flattening fences, and leaving a trail of destruction. The farmers, already on the brink of financial ruin, faced a catastrophe. They had tried everything, shooting guns, building fences, even using dogs. But the emus were intelligent and fast, easily outmaneuvering conventional methods. Desperate, the farmers appealed to the government for help. The Minister of Defense, Sir George Pearce, saw an opportunity. He proposed deploying the military, armed with machine guns, to wage war on the emus. The plan was approved, and a detachment of soldiers from the Royal Australian Artillery under the command of Major G.P.W. Meredith prepared to embark on a mission that would make history. In October 1932, Major Meredith and his men arrived in the Campion district armed with 2 Lewis machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. The Lewis gun, a light machine gun used in World War I, was capable of firing up to 600 rounds per minute. The soldiers were confident that they could easily dispatch the emu threat. The plan was simple: locate a group of emus, open fire, and move to the next target. On November 2, the first operation began. The soldiers spotted a flock of about 50 emus near the town of Walgoolan. They set up their machine guns and waited for the birds to come within range. But the emus proved to be far more elusive than anticipated. At the first sign of danger, the birds scattered in all directions, running at speeds up to 50 km per hour and weaving unpredictably. The soldiers opened fire, but the emus, with their thick feathers and tough skin, were surprisingly resistant to bullets. A direct hit was needed to bring one down. After a day of chasing and shooting, the tally was a meager dozen emus killed. The next day, Major Meredith devised a new strategy, ambushing the emus at a water source. He set up the machine guns behind a fence and waited. When a large group of emus arrived, the guns opened fire. Chaos ensued, but after a few minutes, the birds fled. Only a few were killed. As the days went on, the soldiers grew frustrated. The emus seemed to learn and adapt, avoiding the men and their guns. The local media got wind of the operation and began reporting on the emu war, often with a tone of amusement. The military's fruitless efforts became a source of ridicule. In one famous incident, Major Meredith attempted to mount a machine gun on a truck to chase the emus, but the truck's speed was no match for the birds, and the ride was so bumpy that accurate shooting was impossible. After 6 days, the military had fired thousands of rounds but killed only about 50 emus. The emu population remained largely intact. The situation was becoming an embarrassment. On November 8, the government withdrew the military, declaring the operation a failure. The emus had won the first round. The Great Emu War quickly became a laughingstock around the world. Headlines mocked the Australian military for being defeated by birds. However, the farmers were not laughing. They were still facing ruin. Under pressure, the government re-engaged the military for a second campaign in December 1932, but it was equally ineffective. In total, the military claimed to have killed about 5,000 emus over several months, but many of these were later disputed, and the actual numbers were likely much lower. The emus continued to cause damage, but the farmers were eventually forced to rely on bounties and shooting parties rather than the army. The Great Emu War has since become a symbol of bureaucratic absurdity and the hubris of man over nature. It is a cautionary tale about the limits of military force against a determined, adaptable enemy, even if that enemy is a bird. The war also highlighted the fragile relationship between humans and wildlife, and the challenges of managing invasive species. Today, the emu is an iconic Australian animal, and the Great Emu War is remembered with a mix of humor and humility. In recent years, the story has been retold in documentaries, articles, and even comic operas. It serves as a reminder that sometimes the most unlikely adversaries can teach us profound lessons. As we conclude this chapter of strange history, we are reminded that every creature, no matter how small or seemingly fragile, has its own survival strategies. And sometimes, the best plan is not to fight, but to adapt. So, what can we take away from the Great Emu War? On the surface, it is a comical tale of human folly, but underneath, it holds deeper insights. It demonstrates the importance of understanding your enemy, no matter how unexpected they might be. The military failed because they underestimated the emu's intelligence, speed, and tenacity. It also shows that when resources are scarce, conflicts can arise over the most unexpected things. The soldier-settlers were desperate men fighting for their livelihoods, and the emus were simply following their instincts to survive. The war also raises questions about our approach to wildlife management. Today, we use more humane and effective methods like fencing, controlled culling, and habitat conservation. The Great Emu War is a testament to the fact that we cannot always solve problems with brute force. Sometimes, we need to think creatively and work with nature, not against it. As we look back at this bizarre event, we can laugh, but we should also reflect on our relationship with the natural world. It is a reminder that in the grand scheme of things, we are not always at the top of the food chain. Perhaps the emus taught us a valuable lesson in humility. Thanks for watching. If you found this video fascinating, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories from history. And let us know in the comments, what other strange wars should we explore? Until next time, stay curious.